Welcome to the Bizarre MTG Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Medina, and I'm here with a special guest. Say hello, special guest.
My name is Lindsay Burley of Hurley Burley Studio. I do Magic the Gathering card alterations, and sometimes I play with canvases and paint. Woo.
So which one came first, the canvases or the card painting?
Oh, 100% the card painting, but before that was the 3D cards, which is where you take the multiple cards and cut out pieces to make them look like they have depth.
Oh, yeah. So you get multiple of the same card, right? And you stack them up?
Yeah.
And then you cut out layers so that, yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
They're neat, and they take not absolutely, but they take basically zero art skill because it's just tracing the art that's already on the card. So dog.
Yeah, you almost threw a lot of shade right now. You were like, they take absolutely no skill.
Not a lot of skill. Like, anybody can do it.
It could be one of those things that you naturally are skilled at and don't realize how much skill maybe it takes. Because I look at that and I think, man, how could I do that? Like, what layers would I cut? Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be, right?
Yeah, you got me. But I started with that in 2011, and people kept asking me to paint on cards, so I learned how to paint on cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you started with the cutouts. What was the first, like, why do that? Like, I see them and I think they look really cool, but I never have the desire to, like, so what turned inside of you saying, I want to do that?
I saw somebody else do it, to be honest. And the guy who I saw, I don't remember his name, but he knows who he is, because whenever this story comes out, he always normally comes out of the woodwork and he's like, hey, I'm that guy. That's me. I was that guy. But I was at an LGS and I saw somebody do it, and I thought that it looked cool, and I like to do crafty sorts of things, and I like magic. So I was like, well, sure, I'll try it. And it turns out I was okay at it, and people wanted more from me, so I tried to give the people what they wanted.
So was the guy doing it at the LGS, or what, did he just bring one that he had, or was he actually doing it right there when you saw him?
I don't think he was doing it on site. I think he just had them. I don't remember. It was so long ago. I have terrible memory.
So when you saw them, did you like go home and look up how to do it and like practice, or?
No, I just kind of looked at them, because I mean, like, if you look at them, you can see what they are. You can see that it is just like layers of the card, and he kind of explained it to me too. Like, I was like, oh, these are cool, like, how did you do that? And he's like, oh, well, you just take an X-Acto knife and you cut out pieces and then you stick them back together and voila.
That's cool. And how do you stick them together? Just with glue, or is there some special?
There's two different main ways to do it. You can cut out filler pieces of the cards, which is like, if I was doing the card that's sitting in front of me on the desk that I did not cut up is a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Not cut it up, painted on. But if we were doing Jace, for example, you would cut out Jace and just the frame, right? And then you would cut out a bunch of basic lands or no good cards to create that depth space. And then you can maybe like cut out his cape and glue that to the back of him. And then the filler cards with, again, and then the background. So that would get you your depth, and you can do that with glue. Or
I see. So you wouldn't have to cut like 10 or 15 Jaces up.
No. I only need a minimum of 3 of the card that we want to see.
Yeah, because you put one on the bottom and then like maybe one in the middle.
Right. And then one on the top for the frame. And then the more cards that you have, the more detail you can put in. But that's also like lots of tiny cutting.
Wow. Yeah, let's say it sounds time consuming. How long does one of those cutouts take to do?
Depends on the detail of the card that we're doing. I can bang something simple like a Scars of Mirrodin burn token in like half an hour. But if we want to do one of my super complicated cards that we can look up is Ulash the Hate Seed.
Okay.
all of his little crazy tentacles and stuff, that takes like hours to do.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna take a look at this Ulash the Hate Seed later on. I'll dig through your links and find that. So okay, so the progression went okay. You started to do these cutouts. Is that the right word for it, a cutout, or is there some kind of other?
There's like the technical art term is shadow boxing.
Okay,
What they use in the magic altering world, they just call them 3D alters.
okay. I like shadow boxing. I used to do that with my brothers.
Oh yeah,
It's not artistic. It's just where you act like you're gonna punch each other, and
that
you
is
get
not the same.
no, you get really close. Like like put your fist like right in front of their face. Anyways, we're
Right,
done.
and you make the smacking sound.
Yeah. So yeah. So then you moved on to painting because people started asking about the painting, right?
Yeah.
And
People kept asking about it and asking about it, and I was like, guys, I don't know how to paint. Like I didn't paint in high school. I like took my mandatory art classes when I was a kid in elementary school and stuff, but I do not know how to paint. You do not want me painting your cards. I will ruin them. But they kept asking.
so
So I
this started
eventually figured it out.
in 2011. It says on your Twitter, I think it is, that you started doing this since you've been doing this since 2011. Is
Yeah,
2011 how long you've been painting, or is that the
that's the
3D
3D.
altar? Okay, so when you start doing 3D altar, and then how long before you started doing the painting part?
I gave in to the peer pressure around 2013 is where I've when I finally gave in and started doing like terrible chibi characters and stuff on cards.
Well, that was good. You held out for 2 years, right?
Right.
2013, and then and you said, okay, you're not a painter. You took requisite art classes, so this is kind of inspiring for people who feel that they don't have any artistic talent, but they maybe want to do some alters, or altering is something that they're interested in. How did you get started in the painting? So did you have any resources, or did you like I always go to YouTube when I want to try to figure something out. So like I presume everybody does that, but I don't know how everyone
uh,
works.
Luckily enough for me, where I lived at the time, I in going to the Star City events.
Hmm.
Eric Klug was still going to Star City events at that time. So I was able to talk to him and I was able to get a couple of tips from him. And then some of the other people that I had met on the tour who were also alterists, just like watch and learn type thing.
Ah,
And
what
then
tips
like
did he
ask them
give you?
about things over dinner. Come again?
What tips did he give you? You said Eric Klug gave you some tips. Do you remember what the tips were?
Thin paint, patience.
Thin paint. He said thin.
Thin paint, thin, uh, and patience.
Okay. All right. So when is thin paint like an actual type of paint, or is it just painting very thinly?
Just so like if you go to a craft store, your paint is kind of like toothpaste-ish, thickish,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
There's a brand of paints that is called Golden Fluid Acrylics, and it's more like buttermilk. It is already thin and wet.
I'm trying to
So
think of the consistency in my head. Like, okay, toothpaste, I got buttermilk. I guess
I
it's
don't
like,
think so much.
what is it? It's like, but yeah. So it's thinner than toothpaste. It's
Yes,
watery.
it's
Okay.
it's it's very wet paint. When you put it on the cards, though, because it is so thin, you have to do layers because otherwise it won't be opaque. It'll still be transparent.
Now, does it like just start dripping everywhere? Like, because I imagine like
Not that wet.
buttermilk
That's too
like
wet.
spilling all over. Okay, all right.
No, that's too wet.
Okay. I'm like, no wonder these people are masters. They have to like kind of herd all this buttermilk that's like dripping all over the card. Okay. So he gave you tips. You watch and learn other alterists on the SCG circuit. And
Yeah,
then
Black Wing Studio was another person who was super helpful. We had dinner and traveled together a bunch when we were both grinding the altarist circuit real hard. So she was super helpful. Klug was helpful in his own way, and just like Googling the crap out of it on
Yeah.
the interweb.
Now, did you have for me, I would be super like, what do they call that? Imposter syndrome, right? Like,
Oh, that is a thing.
right? Because you said you don't have any formal training or whatever. So, like me, I just look at myself going into a situation like that, and I would feel like, oh man, I can't do this, or I'm not supposed to be doing this, even though I'm like applying these techniques and stuff I'm learning from other people. Did you struggle with that? Do you struggle with that? Like, tell me
Oh,
about
but
that.
all the time. I struggled with it then, and I struggle with it now. Like a week before an event that I'm going to, I always am like, oh my God, this is going to go terrible. Everybody hates me. I shouldn't even be doing this. I didn't even go to art school. I was supposed to be like, I did music growing up, and which is kind of arty. I get it, but no, imposter syndrome is totally a thing. But on the other hand, when I get to the events, it goes away. So like the people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I've seen your work online. You're really good. Look at this. You inspired me to learn how to paint on cards." And then they show me their altars and ask for advice and critique, and it's just so like wholesome and fulfilling.
That's great. So part of the way that you deal with the imposter syndrome is just when you show up and people start talking with you, you get reminded that you're a valued part of the community and people, you're actually inspiring other people to do
Yeah,
artwork.
yeah. Like I have to fight myself to get to the event, and then like the night before I don't sleep because I'm just worried about everything. And then when I show up to the event and people stop by to say hi, and it makes it everything worth it. Like the week of anxiety before the event, it makes it worth it.
Do you have a big letdown when you leave, like on Sunday night when you're packing up or something, and then you go back to the grind? Is it like, oh, like I want to
Oh
do this
yeah.
all the time? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like on the rides home, I'm like, oh my God, we're like it's quiet. I don't have to talk to anybody. Like I love talking to people, but having to this kind of sounds mean, or I maybe mean, but having to only be nice for the 14 hours a day that I'm behind my booth,
Right.
it can be it can take a toll.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's maybe would you consider yourself like an introvert or is that part of what's happening there, or is it just
It's a combination of things. I am what some people call like an extroverted introvert. Like I want to make friends and be with people, but I can only be around you for so long. Um, I also suffer from bipolar disorder,
uh-huh.
so having to like keep in super check what might trigger the depression or an anger flare up.
Right.
It takes a little bit extra for me.
Yeah, so you have to use like coping mechanisms or stuff as that kind of stuff is boiling beneath the surface or
Yeah,
as it starts to become apparent. That's interesting. Yeah, I think we all deal with some kind of different things in our lives, and one of the things is controlling, like in a business setting, because a business setting for you, right, that you're sitting and doing these altars and
right.
meeting with the community, even though you love it and maybe it's part business and part like
Oh
community
yeah,
or
it's completely enjoyable, and I enjoy meeting the community, and would always do it and love doing it, but I still have to keep the professional business um, uh, exterior. Um,
yeah.
that word that I can't think of.
That makes sense. So you've been doing this for 9 years. In those 9 years, we talked about 2 years in, you started doing the painting. So, over the 7 years of painting, what have been some of those level up moments? So, moments where you felt like, okay, I've actually moved, my skill has moved past where it was in a significant way. Can you remember any of those?
A couple of them I can. So the first one was like 2 years in. I was starting to get into restoring cards. I believe if the timelines work out correctly, I would like to believe that it was around that GP Vegas with the sealed event that sold out. And
Hmm.
instead of putting stamps on cards, the judges were just like marking them with Sharpies. So people wanted to get the Sharpies unmarked from the cards because they weren't stamps and they didn't like them.
Yeah.
So I started to get into restoration and restoring cards, and then I was able to work on my first Black Lotus. So that was really cool.
So did you restore a Black Lotus, or what did you do with the Black Lotus?
I restored it. I took off, it had some creases, and I covered up the crease marks and made the back look nice and complete again. It was not an extension. It was just cleaning up the crease marks and the wear on the card.
Wow. So you used artwork to do that, just painting in ways to just kind of make the card look whole.
Yep. I posted it in the chat.
Oh, cool. You're going to post it in the chat? All right, I'm going to go take a look. This is oh yeah, there's the hate seed as well. Very neat. Okay, I see. Wow. Yeah. So for those who are listening on the podcast,
And
we're
can't see,
looking.
sorry.
Yeah. No, this is great. Hey, also, by the way, if you want to see this kind of stuff, you can join the podcast live by being part of the Discord. Just look in the show notes. It's right there. But and then also you can see in this Discord, these pictures that I'm looking at right here. And this Black Lotus altar looks really great. It's very worn. The before picture is very worn, and there's a lot of a whitening on the back, and there's a big shuffle crease right down the middle in the top.
Right down the middle of the poor card.
Yeah, and what she has done is you can't even see the shuffle crease, and the borders are all nice and blackened. The back of the card looks like a magic card again, not just like a
Not like it was played on cement.
Wow. So this is a really great restoration. I would love to have my card restored like this. Now, what does something like that cost? You don't have to say what this one costs because it's a Black Lotus, obviously.
So I don't base my price off of the card value.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, because a Mox art, for example, since we're talking about expensive cards, Mox art is on the simpler side, or the dual lands are on the simpler side. It's just it's old traditional art. It's done with paint. It doesn't have that extra pizzazz that digital can do.
Yeah,
and it has natural paint colors already in there. If I were to do a card that was digitally made, I'm probably going to charge a little bit more for it because of the colors that the color range that they can get, and the tiny detail that they can already put in there.
So what does so you don't charge for the value of the card, and I could totally see that because your artwork is based on the time that you're put in. But also on the other hand, for me it's like, well, if I mess this card up, I'm gonna have to replace it. You know what I mean? So the risk that I'm taking and that's just my own thought process, is like the risk that I'm taking to paint on a Black Lotus is more of a risk than the risk I'm going to take to paint on an Inverter of Truth. Two different things. If I mess this Inverter of Truth up, it's going to be $5 to replace it.
If I mess this up, that's done. Like you get my car, you get the dog, like you get all of it.
So what is the what is the cost if someone wants to say someone has a card they want restored? Does it vary? What's the range? Just so those listening get an idea of what
it can be as simple or as low as like the front side of this Lotus. I would currently charge $35 for the front side. The back side is more work. The back side of it, I would probably charge around $45 because it has more visible wear to it.
Yeah.
So it depends on what is wrong with the card and how much work we're going to be putting in there. On average, $50 is about my average starting price for most work, and then we'll go up or down depending.
Okay. So if people are looking for that, they can contact you, and I know that you have a queue, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to go back to the level up moments because I got sidetracked with the Black Lotus. So that is definitely a level up moment. You can see in the pictures how great of a job you did. Was there any other level up moments or moments you can remember where you felt like, okay, I went to the next level?
Recently, there's been a few, but the most recent one I had was working with foils.
Okay.
Um,
What does
I
that do? Like, why do that? And I didn't know that there was a difference. You use acrylics, right? Is what you said?
I do, but with foils, um, I can actually extend the foil art by removing some of the paint or the ink that's on there to reveal the blank foil underneath, and then extending the artwork so that all of the shiny goes across. If you don't
Ah,
remove
I
the ink,
see.
then you don't get the full shiny.
So when you said foils, not oils, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, foil cards.
I was like working with oils. Okay, acrylic paint, oil paint, is that the same thing? I don't know.
I tried. I
Okay.
tried working with oil paint once on canvas, and that's going to take a going to have a kid that is not in constant need of my attention.
Okay.
Oil paint takes forever to dry.
Okay. So foils, what what you're showing here for those who are listening now is a Tefri Time Raveler, which looks awesome. It's like a full frame Tefri Time Raveler, and you can see like the foil behind him, like just shining through. And so what you've done here is what you're saying is you've taken the ink off the card
Mm-hmm.
and made a painting there essentially.
Yep. So I've extended the artwork. The paint that is put on is basically the same as doing a traditional extension,
Uh-huh.
matching the colors that are already on the card and extending the artwork down. The main difference is that with foils, to get the foil effect to go all the way through the new artwork, you have to remove the ink that is on the card.
Hmm. And the foil effect will go through the paint.
It'll go through most of it. Some of the paint, because of the colors, it is too opaque, and I
Yeah.
have special paint that has iridescent and almost metallic like qualities to it, so I can force that foil in there.
Okay. What kind of paint is that? I ask these questions because for people, I feel like this podcast is going to be great for your fans for them to get to know you a little bit better. For people who are being introduced to you and through the different social medias and stuff, they want to learn about you, and then also for people who want to do this, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
so like what kind of paint, this iridescent paint that you use to paint on foils that helps kind of draw out those metallic um, shine and stuff like that. What kind of paint is that?
it's called interference paint.
Interference?
Yeah, like
Okay.
stop, like interference stop.
Okay.
But
And
the
they can
cool
look that
thing with
up to
this,
find it?
yeah, they can look it up. And on my website, I have an intro to altering article. But the cool thing with the interference paints is that I can take non-foil cards and make them have a shininess to them.
Oh, wow. So just
Also
like on
in
a
chat.
is that what this Grove of the
The
Burn
Grove is.
Willows? Okay.
So I use red and yellow interference paints on the new art of Grove of the Burn Willows, and
Uh-huh.
it'll give that shiny effect to the fire branches of the trees.
I see. What we're looking at here is the Grove of the Burn Willows. It's from the Iconic Masters set. So it has those kind of like weeping willow style trees, which have like a red kind of like I don't know, lava is the only way I could really say.
Yeah, definitely lava leaf.
They feel like lava leaves, but just like hanging uh tree appendages. But what she's done is paint it with this interference paint in into that what with the extension. She's extended the art and painted it so you can see like a shiny um, hanging situation. And it looks like we just got the intro to card altering article. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well for those who are interested in digging in and doing this for yourself, or at least trying it, because this is something I might try. I
Oh,
might give it a shot.
absolutely try it.
You know,
Everybody should try it. Like, the
yeah,
worst thing that you're gonna do is mess up a basic land, right? Well,
right.
I mean, unless you don't start out with a basic land and then, But, like,
Do
take the
not
commons
start
and
with a Black
uncommons.
Lotus.
Take commons and uncommons. They have better artwork anyways most of the time, and paint on them.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing. So, okay, so what I have some questions about your process here,
Mhm.
and I feel like a lot of those questions might be answered in the intro, but for those who are listening, what is the process to doing an altar? You're saying go ahead, paint on a common or uncommon. How does that start? You have to buy paints, right?
Yep.
Event.
So I use golden fluid acrylics with my buttermilk paint. And you technically only need your base colors of cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and white.
Okay.
With those colors, you can mix any color that a printer can make, and then you paint on the card. It's easy as that. But seriously though, what I do to do an extension is I do a gray base. I'm lazy, so I just buy some Warhammer paint gray, to make sure it's thin. Do a couple layers of gray, and then we'll go in, and if we are doing we'll go back to Jace the Mind Sculptor. He has a weird tealish background, I believe, off the top of my head. Yeah. So to match that, hang on, pulling up a thing.
Okay.
There we go. So to match that, you would just go in, and we'll start with like a little bit of a green. So you get your blue or your cyan and your yellow and mix that up a little bit. And then it's a trial and error until you can figure out the color that matches. You can add a little bit of black and to gray it down a little bit, get a white in there to brighten it up so that it's not too dark. But learning how to match colors is very much trial and error. Don't be
Uh-huh.
discouraged because you're gonna mess up.
Now, here's a question. You said you start with gray, so you gray out the whole art.
Wherever I'm gonna paint.
Okay, so you gray out all the area that you're going to paint. If you're going to leave the figure, you gray out the background. If you're going to paint something new, like a Pikachu on a Thalia, you're going to
Yep,
paint
you
the
just
whole thing out.
paint the whole thing out.
Okay,
Wherever
and
you're gonna paint, you gray it out.
now you said
It'll
you're
give
lazy, so you use Warhammer paint. What does that mean? What does the
uh
non-lazy way look like?
to take black and white and make gray.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're talking about the difference between mixing the black and white,
Yeah.
making the gray, and then
I
putting that down. Okay.
I'm lazy and I'm not. The paints that I use don't come in a gray color, so I can't just buy a gray bottle
I
of
see. I
golden
see.
paints. I have to either make my own gray or I have to buy a different brand of gray.
Okay. And do you use like taping and stuff like that, or uh,
Nope.
no taping? Use freehand.
Yep.
Okay. Is that because
So
of time, or is that just because your style, or?
so what I have found is because cards are printed with a printer, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to, unless you're Klug, he doesn't count. Most people
That's
are
probably
not going.
that's probably why I asked, because I've probably seen Klug do taping. He's very meticulous, right?
um, so most people aren't going to be able to exactly match that color 100%. You
Uh,
can force your color matching in a little bit by painting a little bit into the artwork if you're doing an extension. So your paint does not stop straight line where that piping border is in between the border and the artwork. You
yeah.
paint in a little bit to force and blend your colors to match.
Okay. So it's like a little bit of a way to
Yeah.
cheat, right? Because instead of matching your color, you fade it. Fade
Yes.
the color that is on the painting into the color that you made.
Yep.
And then once you fade it, you can just use that color.
Correct. Like, we're not going to be doing two colors that are completely different or super far apart. You want to
No.
get as close as possible, so that it looks natural and seamless. But if you can't quite get there, it's okay to force it.
Okay, all right, I see. That's interesting. Yeah, little tricks of the trade here. We're learning some tricks of the trade. All right, any, this whole podcast is just a veiled attempt at me to learn how to alter. That's all this is.
You're like, I just really just wanted to learn how to do my own.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn, so I'm just gonna pick your brain for an hour.
But to get the clean lines, like around your text box and stuff,
Hmm.
I don't tape and I don't mask. Um, Klug also does this. You use toothpicks and you can erase the paint. You just chip it off.
Oh, just chip it off with a toothpick.
Hmm.
No, that would give me a heart attack because I feel like I would put indents on the card, with the toothpick. But I guess people with skills can do that.
Nice light hand. You have it. I mean, it takes practice. Everything takes practice.
Right.
You do a little bit at a time, and then eventually you'll be able to get your nice straight line.
All right. So how long does this whole process take? And I know it could vary between alters, but let's talk about different things that you do. So you do like extensions, right?
Uh-huh.
How long does an extension take?
Usually takes me about 3 to 4 hours for a card.
Okay. And how long does so an extension is just basically taking the art, extending it up past the borders of the card.
Yep.
How long does like a full art? That's another type of extension, right? So like
Yep.
taking the art and putting it into the text box and making something full. How long does that take?
Um, Depends on the card. Mostly up to like 6 hours. It doesn't take
Mhm.
me too much longer than a regular extension because most of the time it's just color matching. And once
I
we've
see.
figured out the colors that are on the card, then doing the rest of the work is basically already done,
Ah,
except for all of the painting and the shapes. Um, but the color matching for me is the hardest part.
okay. And what would you say is your quickest alter and your longest alter, so people can see like this is the kind of gambit
Oh,
of like time it could take for an alter to do, to sit down and do an alter.
my longest alter. I'd have to think on that one. My quickest one, I added Gandalf to sake a passage, some passage card. Man, I forget the card, but it was just a little Gandalf dude, a little teeny tiny, maybe like an inch tall, just plopped into the artwork in front of a bridge. Like you shall not pass.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Um, this one did take quite a few hours. I would put it closer up to my 8 or 10 hours cards.
Uh-huh.
I took the original Stasis card and put Seb McKinnis Stasis artwork on it.
Oh, wow. Oh man, look at that. So what we're looking at is as she said, a stasis. It's an old border stasis or an old art stasis, but it has the Seb McKinnon artwork done over the old artwork.
Mhm. Yeah, that took a while
Wow.
because I
Mega
had to
nifty from the chat. Mega nifty.
mega. Yeah, I had to make sure that all of the characters and the sword dudes fit in there good. Um, Seb has a very unique style of like gritty artwork that has these cool shading techniques and stuff.
Mhm.
Tried to replicate that as much as possible.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So you've been you've been getting quite the name for yourself as an alterist. Part of it is, I would imagine, the SCG circuit.
Hmm.
But I'd like to talk about that because there's a whole nother side to this, right? You're doing the artwork, learning your craft and practicing things like color matching and all these different techniques and stuff like that, which it sounds like you're improving on over and over again. But the whole other side of this is, even no matter how good you are as a painter, you still have to get your name out there, right? You still have to market yourself and share your artwork and your talents with others.
Hmm.
Tell me about what that's been like. Like, how has your approach been to getting yourself out there?
Uh, as somebody who's very anxious it has been quite miserable, but we get there. It started out that I would just go to the Star City circuits and like kind of post on Facebook every now and again and get momentum that way. Uh, and it got me to about 1,000 people, um, followers and stuff like that on Facebook and Instagram.
Uh-huh.
About a year ago, 2 years ago, a year and a half, we'll call it. I started posting on Twitter more, and that has brought a bunch of people and visibility, which it was a very intimidating platform to learn, but now that I know it and I understand it, it is easier to use and it's easier to just like interact with people in a community sort of way. And I feel like that is better because you you want to be more personable, right? Like you want to be able to be like, oh yeah, how have you been? I've seen like you post your cat pics and stuff like that. And it's easier to just be able to talk with the people.
Right, because you see what's going on in their life on Twitter, and you get to kind of be a part of it. I always feel like I'm inserting myself into people's like situation though. Whenever I'm like, someone's like, I have a job interview today. I'm like, yeah, go
Yeah,
get
you
it.
got it. Get that
You got
bread.
it. And then I'm like, I don't know, man. There might be like, who's this guy? Because
Like I've never met him in my life. Like I'm glad that he's happy for me.
exactly. What is that? So you use Twitter first. You use Facebook and Instagram. Instagram seems like a kind of a slam dunk for what you do, right? Because
Instagram was great because it's a visual platform. Unfortunately, I'm sure that people have heard creators complain about the algorithm. Um, the algorithm has started to make Instagram less uh, desirable for people to use, and it's harder to gain traction now and followers and likes and all that.
what does that mean? Like, I understand what it means from a like social media standpoint, but explain it for people who are listening. What does it mean when the algorithm makes it harder?
The algorithm is the powers that be that decide whether people get to see your posts or not, basically. Um, they, whenever you like other people's posts or search for things, it remembers it and then it tries to force and show you what it thinks that you want to see. So
Right.
even though you may not be following or even though you may be following someone, like if you follow me on Instagram, if you don't like my posts, it might start showing you more leather making pictures instead of magic altar pictures. If you like a bunch of magic altars, then it'll show you my magic altars and it'll show you some other person's magic altars that you might not follow because it's like, hey, you like this, here's more of this.
So that seems to me though that there could be ways to make the algorithm like you, right? By encouraging engagement on your posts. Like if people are liking your posts, maybe the algorithm is going to be nice to you and show you to other people who are not following you or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Because
That is a thing that you can do. Some people try to be like, hey, make sure that you like my post or comment on my post so that you can continue to see my posts.
right.
That works. It is slightly too aggressive of an approach for me, as I try to be as least amount of confrontational as possible.
Uh-huh.
So I feel bad whenever I put on my posts that my followers should like and retweet or like and share, because
Right.
like if they actually liked it that much, then they would do it. So I shouldn't have to ask, and I don't want to feel like I'm forcing them to do things. But
But this is the
yeah,
social media conundrum, right? Because it's the same thing on YouTube. It's the same thing. There's an algorithm that like even if you follow someone, they're not going to show you those videos unless those videos are getting a bunch of likes and
right.
a bunch of engagement in the same topic, right? And so you see a lot of YouTube creators saying, "Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that bell icon so
Yeah,
you
ring
can
that
see,
bell.
and make sure that also that you haven't hit the bell, but also that you've hit the bell and said for every video and not just periodically or whatever the YouTube thing does." So I think that some people, here's the thing. I think you have to tell people what you want them to do because it may not even enter their mind to do the thing you want them to do, even if they like something that you write. Like sometimes on my
Yeah,
tweets,
yeah.
I'll say, retweet this or retweets are appreciated or something like that because otherwise they just won't even think to retweet it. They'll just say, oh, that's a cool tweet, and move
Yep.
on.
They're like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to keep scrolling.
Until you it's called call to action, right? A call to action to ask him do something, please. I need more clout points,
Yeah, it's bad because like the like I guess it's a catch-22 is that our art or our content shouldn't be um valued or dictated by how many likes and retweets that it gets, but as a creator, you absolutely value your work as how many likes and retweets you get.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of that validation situation, right? It
Yeah.
validates your work or your existence. I think we all, any content creator, kind of can vibe with that and can understand that. What
Yeah,
things have you
definitely.
found to help you in this marketing side of things? As you said, expanding to a new platform like Twitter has been something that has grown your audience. You feel right?
Mhm.
And what else? What other things have you found that? Because I think I first noticed you through Twitter, and everyone in the Discord here was starting to ask to do an interview with you. So they love you over here. so
Yay!
so you have
Yay!
fans. They're everywhere.
Thank you guys. You're great.
So
No, I think another big thing is just like interacting with people. Like if the people who only post stuff, if you're only posting your work and that's it, and you don't talk to your people, they're not going to get to know you and feel like they want to spend money with you or like share your work or help you in any way that they can. Whereas um, with me, I try to like interact with my followers. I try to interact with the artists that I look up to. Noah and Rachel Bradley are like big inspiration for me, and I like follow all of their posts and like all of their stuff. And um,
that's like a that's like an art super couple, right?
oh my god, they're like a power couple. They're both beautiful people. They like are super nice in person. They're super nice online. They like help people. Yeah, yeah, they're great.
shout out to shout out to them.
I think that interacting and being nice and just like positivity is a good way to gain followers or even just like be nice and around people.
I think that's a great tip because some people are like one way, right? On their social media, like you said, they just post their work and then just move on. They're not responding to tweets, they're not thanking people. So being interactive and talking to your audience is a great way. I find for myself the same way. I talk with and interact with everyone on Twitter, even like sometimes people that I just started following or something who maybe don't know me or whatever. Um, you know, just because I want to be part of the community, so to speak.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, like you just force yourself into people's days. They're like, I'm going to a job interview. And you're like, yeah, you are. You're going to do great.
Right. So, what else? What things do you think? Why do you think? So the thing that gets me is okay. These people on the Discord, they were like, "Yeah, interview her. We want to hear from her." Why is that? Like, why do you think they're so interested? What do you think about you and your artwork is resonating with these people where they want to hear from you? They want to have this interview.
I don't know. I don't know. I am a very anxious person. I don't know. Maybe it's because I talk a lot online. It could be because I post cute cat and baby pictures.
That could be.
Some of my work has gotten momentum. I know that some of the people in here that when I popped in when you first talked to me, Volrath,
Yeah,
I
Joe
see
Dyer.
Lucalo. We call him Duckman because he's got the little duck guy next to him. I've done work for him as well. So like I guess like word of mouth, and if I've done well for those people in the community, then they're going to speak up for me as that I have also that I have done well
Right.
for them, and they think that I'm cool.
They
which
think
is
that I'm
neat.
cool. That is neat. So you've been developing your Patreon lately, right?
Yes.
Patreon, it's a new platform for me. Okay, so I just started my own Patreon. I don't know, in January, and
Okay.
so I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on Patreon. How long have you had a Patreon?
Oh, I've had it for years. I've
Okay,
had it for years. I'm grandfathered into like the old I
the
have
old
like all
fee
of the
structure.
benefits. Yeah, yeah, I have all of the benefits of like the pro package or whatever it is, but like at the price of the basic package because I'm grandfathered in. Um I've had it for years. I love the platform and most of the things about it. Um the hard part for me is that I have to figure out what I can give people on a monthly type basis that they would want to like spend money on as a grab bag because you don't know what you're going to get, right?
Yeah. Now let me ask you the question. We'll just have a discussion about Patreon. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, do you think you need to give people something in the Patreon? Like, I've always looked at Patreon as, hey, look, I'm creating this content. Here's an opportunity for you to support me in creating the content or the stuff that I do. You can help me by signing up for my Patreon, and and then maybe there'll be these bonuses. Maybe like along the way, I'll be able to do something for you. But it seems like a lot of the patrons have become like this focus, like, here's what I'm going to provide you for becoming a patron. Like it's an extra job almost.
So I tried to do the hey, just support me approach, and then like eventually you could get stuff back.
Right.
It never went well. um, didn't work too well for me. I feel like that approach is easier for somebody that doesn't produce material goods.
Okay. So
Um,
like would you say like somebody who does like YouTube videos or something like that?
yeah, like YouTube videos, podcasts. I feel like you don't have to give them something because you don't make anything. Like if you happen to get enough supporters to be able to order, 100 custom play mats or like a stack of, you know, buttons or t-shirts or something like that. But to get that stack of material goods, you have to come up with the money for it, like a Kickstarter or, so many, like they have, what are those called? Goals. Patreon,
Yeah.
you can set goals. Like, hey, I got 50 people on my Patreon. I'm going to order these shirts now because I hit 50 people.
Right. Isn't that
Um,
like a weird like feedback cycle though, right? Because like the whole idea is that the Patreon, this is my concept of it. Maybe I have the wrong idea, but I always thought like, hey, Patreon's for people to help support creators, right? But like if the
yeah,
creators are taking the money that they get in the Patreon to order playmats to give to the patrons, like they're not getting any support. They're just getting an extra job to do,
yeah,
to support the patrons. Like it's the creators supporting the patrons and not the patrons supporting the creator, right? Is that like off base or
I mean, like it's a bit of both, right? So like, if people just wanted to give money, they can do that, and that's why most patrons have the $1, or for you, it would be like $3 tier because you're in the newer category. So you can give me $3 a month, and thank you for supporting me. It means a whole bunch, but that's not enough for me to be able to provide anything back to you.
right, right.
My $5 a month gets you. Actually, I don't know. I think it's a $10 a month gets you stickers.
$5 a month gets you early access to altars,
Oh, you
a
already brought it up.
process video article.
Right. So my $5 a month doesn't actually get you anything physical, except for this month until March 12th. If you sign up, you get stickers because I'm doing a special offer.
There you go, stickers.
Aha!
We
Everybody
will
loves
have
stickers.
we will have Lindsay's patron in the show notes, by the way, so you could take a look. And for those who are creating content, this kind of conversation as we go through this and talk about it. It's good for you if you're going to create a Patreon to think about, like, hey, these are thoughts to have, and how do I? Because I know when I created mine, I had a lot of thoughts, like what, how do I? Because I went through the same thing, like what do I give people who
I like crawled through Patreon like continuously, because I've had mine for years, and I update it and tweak it, and I go and I look and see what other successful Patreons have set up for the rewards, and like go off of that and see what's going on. But it is tough. It's definitely a job. Like
It,
it
and
is a job. But like, so with mine, my $5 a month, you don't get anything physical, right?
right,
You get early access to altars, and those come with a discount. So that you're going to get some of your $5 a month back with
right.
saving money on your altars. If I do process in videos, I used to do those monthly, but I didn't get any new people in asking for specific things or learning how to do altars. So I cut that back to as they come. Like if I get an interesting question about something, then I'm going to do a video so that I can explain it better. But my $10 a month one is where you get actual stuff back, which is blah, 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 blah. The stickers. My sticker sets I make at home with my printer, and then I laminate them myself. So I'm already making these sticker sets to sell anyways. So the $10 a month isn't that's covering my cost of the stickers that I'm going to be sending out.
Right. It's kind of like just like you're not making anything on it. You're just providing it as a service in a way for people who want to sign up for the Patreon.
Right. And like the there's not much of a downside. Those monthly stickers I'm making anyways to sell.
Right.
So I already have them. And you are promising me $10 a month. The least that I can do for you is give you some stickers.
So I like some of these, patron tiers that you did, because like you said, it's stuff that that's part of your workflow already. So like you're already going to be doing the altars, so you might as well give people a discount, let them get a little recoup of their pledge,
Right.
and give them a little bit early, early access or whatever. And the stickers thing, you're already making the stickers, so it's not new stuff that you're providing to patrons only. It's just extra benefits that you can give the patrons that fit in your daily workflow, so to speak.
Right. Like they're kind enough to help me with their support and pledges.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something back for you.
Right. I think that's a good way to approach it. In the same vein, where you now, what's this Canvas work in progress or WIPs in the $10 thing? What is that?
So my Canvas whips are Canvases art take obviously more time than just magic card altars. So when I do them and when I stop during the night and go to bed, I normally take a picture of like what I did that day, if I did any canvases, and my uncommon sponsors get to see where it is, and I write like a little blog post, not long, because I don't do that much. I don't try not to talk. But I do a little blurb about like what I thought about it and how I think that it's coming along and what direction that it's going to go. I did one recently that was supposed to be moon themed, and it came out much more pink and purple than black and gray. And so in my thing, I'm like, this didn't really come out exactly how I thought it was going to be, so we're probably going to be going in a different direction with this one. Stuff like that.
Okay. Do your patrons find that stuff interesting, or is that an example of
are very quiet. I think that most of the people that support me do it out of the kindness of their heart and just for the supporting.
I see.
There's not a lot of interaction in my Discord and on my patron site itself, which is a little sad, but it's also nice because it's not like they absolutely need something from me.
Right. It's not, it doesn't put pressure on you.
Right.
And it's nice to have people to support you.
Yeah.
That's cool. I always wondered about that. My patrons are mostly quiet. And I wonder if it's the same for everyone, right? Are everyone's patrons quiet,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Some
It's like that.
Patrons, Proxy Guy's patrons are not quiet. They talk about his stuff all the time.
Well, he commands an army, though. He's got a whole army, right? I haven't even looked. What is his? I think I'm following him. I like to follow people's patrons, because like people don't know this, but you can follow for free.
Mhm.
Uh, you can follow a Patreon for free, and then you get to see that when they post something, which is great because you don't get to see the post maybe if you're not a patron, but you at least get to see that they posted something. And sometimes people post things for free. Yeah, Proxy Guy has 290 patrons. He's got an
Yeah, but he's
army.
great. He deserves all that love.
He deserves more. He deserves more. Um, we'll have to get him on the show sometime. That'll be cool. But yeah, following someone's Patreon, I think, is a great way to even it's kind of like support, right? Because you have said, hey, I want to hear when you post something. And like I said, for me, this podcast is going to be posted on the Patreon. It's going to be
Right.
free. Like people are, who are not a Patreon can listen to it on there. But at least it gives me a place to post all my content so that like if I write an article on cool stuff, they can see it. Or if I make a podcast, they can listen to it. Or if, I don't know, I build a deck that is, that I'm enjoying, they can see that as well, So it kind of gives me a hub in a way.
Yeah, well that, but also with your titles, if you title good and you follow somebody and they have an interesting title, it might entice them to sub.
Yeah, yeah. If my clickbait is strong, then
Yeah.
it might get them, it might squeeze them for that $3, It might get them. But this is true. This is true. All jokes aside, if you're making compelling content and people feel the drive to read the content that you make, then sure, it's an avenue to show somebody, hey, I'm creating something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
All right. So any changes coming to your Patreon? You did this deal. Are you doing anything new, or other than the deal, are you planning to shift it up or?
So I just revamped a little bit. The monthly stickers used to be quarterly stickers, so I changed it to monthly. That was the big main change, and we're going to see where that goes. The
Okay.
other thing that I have been toying with adding is a $3 cat and baby pick tier.
Okay.
Because Caleb Shearer is my roommate, and he loves his cats. And my daughter also loves his cats, and they get a lot of attention on on Twitter.
Right.
So we were thinking about adding that tier. So if anybody subs to that, the money from that tier would go towards like toys and treats and snacks for the kid and the
Oh,
cat. And
wow. That's ingenious. That's very cool for your cats, and your babies, because I guess the babies get the toys too, right? Not just the
yeah,
cats.
yeah. She can have some. Well, the baby plays with the cat toys, so really we just need to buy cat toys,
Just cat
and
toys
then they both enjoy it.
yeah, that's an economical way to approach it. Right on. Well, I think that's all we had on the docket for today, but I want to open it up now for any questions that you might have, or things that you want to add to the topic. And those who are listening in live, if you have any questions for Lindsay, let's hear them so we can get them on the episode.
Oh yeah, questions.
Yeah,
I like
questions.
questions. I don't have any questions for you. Not really. No, I'm kind of quiet. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, like, how's podcasting? Is that well for you? It's not a thing that I could do on a regular basis.
So besides getting the flu and my whole schedule getting destroyed, I enjoy podcasting. I've podcasted for quite a long time in the Magic community, formerly of the A-Team podcast, Untapped podcast,
Oh,
Crazy Talk.
Scotty Mac was on that.
Yes, he was.
I
Yes.
love Scotty Mac.
Yeah, shout out to Scotty Mac and KYT and Smitty and the whole gang. So yeah, I was a longtime A-Team host, and then also like I said, Untapped and Crazy Talk and a few others. And then I've been a guest on many, many podcasts as well. So I enjoy it.
Oh, cool.
Thank
Neat.
you for asking. It's funny because I kind of messed that up. I said, if you have any questions, I didn't mean like you personally. I meant the audience, right? And then I'm like, sounds like I'm trying to like get her to interview me. Like, what is?
Now it is Lindsay's turn to be the questionnaire.
Yeah, we're switching seats.
Luke Callow Stuckman. Getting better at painting small. The best advice that I could give is tiny brushes in practice. Since I didn't paint before I did altars, I started painting small. So that's just what comes naturally to me painting. Whereas if somebody's starting from canvas size and going tiny, they have to learn how to shrink it down. I need to learn how to go bigger now that I'm trying to do canvas work.
The opposite problem.
Right.
So we got our good friend Zuko who's asking about the altar circuit. He wants to know, it's just out of ignorance he's saying, but is this talking about just having a booth at SCG or GP, or is the altar circuit something that is, some
Nope, it's
kind of...
just the Star City events. Star City was awesome about allowing me to set up my booth. I was actually the first altarist at an SCG event with an official booth.
Oh,
That's
wow.
super cool.
That is cool.
I traded my 3D stuff when I was, first starting, and I wanted to go to an event in Atlanta, but it was too far to go without actually making money, and you can't sell cards on the floor unless you're like a verified vendor. So I asked. The worst thing that they're going to do is say no, but they said yes. And now there are altarists on the events, and there's new people all the time that come in, and we like talk to each other and get dinner, sometimes split hotel rooms, all that jazz.
Who did you ask when you asked at Star City?
I just messaged them. I just like emailed Star City, contact page or whatever.
Yeah.
Jared Silva was the one who answered me.
Yeah. Cool.
He's
And
great.
was there a charge for the booth or?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a charge then. It has gone up since, but it's nothing ridiculous.
Okay, so it's reasonable. They just give you a charge, and that sounds cool. And like you said, there's like a bunch of altruists who share hotel rooms and this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So another question for you. We did go over this a little bit, but we'll answer it again. Since when are you making altars? So when did you start?
I started doing 3D altars in 2011, and I started to learn how to paint and do painted work in about 2013.
There you have it.
Almost a decade. I'm old.
Lindsay answering all of your burning questions here on the Bizarre MTG podcast. I see Zuko's typing again. What's more popular?
More popular in 3D paint. It depends in the area that I'm in. The Midwest really likes the 3D stuff, and those I get a couple of commissions for them. The Commander crowd really likes the 3D stuff, but overall, it's the painted altars, just plain old painted border extensions, because that's what y'all can still play with.
Oh, that's something I want to ask about.
Altar legality. Let's talk about that.
Yes, let's talk. Man, we almost ended the show without talking about this. Oh, this is so good.
All right.
So
for an altar to be legal, according to the MTR, all right, it's MTR 3.3 if you would like to look it up. The name and the mana cost cannot be touched. The artwork has to be recognizable. It has to have thin paint, so you can't pick it out of the deck when you shuffle. And then nothing offensive and no substantial strategic advice.
Okay, and can they cover the text box, the rules text?
The text box is technically fair game according to the MTR.
Wow. There you have it.
A lot of people ask to get like characters or whatever slapped onto the artwork. And I'm like, if you cover up the artwork too much, you're probably not going to be able to play with it. But we can put, Mega Man in the text box of your Snapcaster Mage, and then you're good to go.
Right, unless they're playing Commander, then a lot of times, that's pretty lenient, right?
Yeah, Duckman put his Vanifair that I did for him in there, which is awesome because it is a completely new art. You have no idea of the original art, but it's great for Commander.
Right, because you're just basically mainly playing with Commander with friends, and I think if you have a Vanifer and you go to like a GP to play a Commander pod, you can probably just play with your altar and then say, I have this Spanifer in
Yeah.
case it's not legal or whatever, because especially with commanders, I find it because there's no tuck rule and no other, it seems to be more lenient because like that never goes in the deck. It never,
No, and you want it to. Well, it's out there all the time. It needs to look good.
yeah, you want it to look good.
Has to look good.
Wow,
But
yeah, that was a good question to cover. I cannot.
how did we miss that?
I don't know. I should be fired.
But the text box, somebody brought up they had a textless cryptic command. If YT can print a textless cryptic command, we can cover up the text on a lightning bolt.
That's a fair analog. All right. I think that's it. I hope that's it. I hope we didn't miss any other burning questions. But we appreciate everybody who's been here hanging out. Thank you so much for listening, all you out there who are listening on the podcast, who are listening in the YouTubes. If you want to get in contact with Lindsay, how can they do that, Lindsay?
Oh, so many different ways. I am on Facebook, Hurly Burly Studio on Facebook. I am on Twitter at Hurly Burly Art. At Hurly Burly Art is also my Instagram handle. I have a TikTok. I don't actually know what my name is on TikTok. It's Hurly Burly something. We're still figuring out how to use that, so you don't have to follow me there yet. We're still learning that. Hurly Burly Studio is making 3D altar or magic altars on Patreon, so you can find me there. I have a Ko-Fi if you just want to be nice and donate, which is always appreciated. But if you go to my Twitter, all of my links are there.
And so in the show notes, we will put all of these links in the show notes. So if you missed one or didn't quite get what the link was, don't worry about it. Just click on the show notes and it'll be right there. And if you want to support this podcast and support my content, you can find me on Twitter, first of all, Medina underscore MTG. So MEDINA underscore MTG. And it's the same thing for Patreon. So it's Patreon/Medina underscore MTG. And if you are not in the Discord, join the Discord. Come hang out. It's free to join. You don't have to be a patron to join. But if you are a patron, you get access to exclusive channels. So we've had a great time with Lindsay today, learning how to alter cards and learning all about the super secret, not so secret altar circuit.
Altar circuit, the underground world of the magic altarists.
Yeah. So until next time, have a great one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.